No, we're short.
Hey, welcome to the December 11th, 2024 meeting of Community Board 11's Land Use, Landmarks, and Planning Committee. My name is Ken Crouch, and I'm the chair, not chair yet. The vice chair of the committee. So this meeting is called to order at 6:36 p.m. Then we're joined by Angel Biscayne, staff liaison for our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. If you have technical difficulty, click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to staff. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair or vice chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please note the chat should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record when recognized. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subject on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Oh, one more thing. Committee members, please answer present. Your name is called.
Adam Briha, present. Kenneth Crouch,
Present.
Jessica Elliott, Arnice Foster Hernandez. Pascal Hanel, present. Jewel Jones,
Present.
Jessica Morris. Noto Rama,
Present.
Beverly Fabon,
Present.
Derek Stackpole is in the absent. Vinnie Torres,
Present.
Jason Villanueva. Candy Vivas Vasquez,
Present.
you have quorum.
Hey, the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and be recognized. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from our last meeting were not yet distributed to committee members. They will be distributed at the end of today's meeting. Okay, so let's go to announcements. So I think first we have Marina Ortiz, East Harlem Division.
Is that correct?
Okay, all right, we'll move to the second item today. On November 19th, the Independent Budget Office released its report, Inclusionary Housing and City Subsidies, a review of strategies for creating new affordable housing from Bloomberg to Adams. The report pays particular attention to the two categories of city programs that frequently feature in housing plans. One, direct city subsidies, which provide city funds and financing to developers in exchange for affordable units. And two, inclusionary housing programs, which leverage zoning density bonuses to encourage housing development. Additional update, the Department of Housing Conservation and Development, Aging in Place Initiative works with buildings already receiving financing through an HPD loan program to assess and finance in-unit and building-wide modifications to assist seniors and people with disabilities in those buildings and maintain. Sorry, folks, if you could just, yeah, switch it on a little bit. Thank you. Okay. Receive financing through HPD preservation loan programs to assess and finance in-unit and building-wide modifications to assist seniors and people with disabilities in those buildings and help them maintain independent, safe, and comfortable lives. Aging in Place is part of the Seniors First initiative. And a few more announcements. Residents in HPD finance buildings now receive a survey in English and Spanish to select apartment modifications, which will be completed in conjunction with building rehabilitation through a preservation loan program. The housing lottery program for Ray Harlem, the housing component of the National Black Theater Development Project at 2031 Fifth Avenue on 125th Street, is underway. It opened through February 3rd, 2025. It's already on the Housing Connect website. I've seen it up there. The project will include 222 affordable apartments to households earning incomes between 40 or 130% of the AMI. There is a 20% community preference for residents of Manhattan Community Districts 11.
Kenneth, I have a correction, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So it's 222 total apartments, 58 of which are affordable and available for the lottery.
Thank you, Angela. So everyone heard that, so that's about a quarter of the,
25%.
oh, yeah, exactly. So, those units are affordable. And it does have a 20% community preference, which, as we know, will change in, not too distant future. Okay, I believe those are all the announcements and updates. Do you have any other informational updates from anybody before we move to presentations and discussion?
Before we go on, if we could please ask the guests to sign the guest sheet, which is on the table there, I left that as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
You have a quick one that I didn't see.
Yeah, let me see.
Can you hand me one of those? Yeah.
Yeah. Also, folks, there are agenda items here. If you haven't picked up one, you can pick up one right there at the desk there. Okay, any other informational updates from anyone? Sure, yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. In regards to the 58 affordable housing, for the project, that's 20, you said it's 25% of the total 2022.
Yeah, I'll defer to Angel. I think it's like 50 something apartment units are affordable there.
58,
58.
And that would be the 25%.
25 of the 222.
Oh, okay. Is there any place where we can find out what the prices are for the, other?
Yes, so in the agenda that was posted and circulated to you all, you just click on it on the blue hyperlinks.
Okay.
That'll take you to the Housing Connect website and has all the details on the units that are subject to the lottery, the rents for each one of the apartments. And the household incomes for eligibility for each one of those apartments.
And Angel, are those incomes based on when the project was completed? So 2024 AMI? You know?
So no, it's AMI is as of when the project, I believe it's now.
Okay.
HPD's on, so they could correct me if I'm sticking my foot in my mouth. But I believe it's as of when the units went to market.
Got it, thank you. Yeah.
So 164 units, it seems that if they're doing it like that, I haven't really looked at the whole entire lottery online. But if it's 58 units that they're giving out of the 222, what's happening with the rest of the 164 units? Are they a market rate?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't disclosed to us when they presented before the community board.
Unfortunately, I don't think I was here, yeah.
I understand.
I definitely share your concern that we should do that.
Yeah, you know, and you know, the thing is that HPD has to come back and tell all these developers when they switch up and especially when we already voted and passed the support, that if they're gonna make any changes like that, give us a heads up, because the community, on behalf of the community, is voting with good faith, thinking that they're gonna give us all these affordable units, and then next thing you know, changes are made. I understand when it comes to development, trust me, things change like if you're writing a story or something, but at least come back and give us a heads up and give us, you know, an update. There's gonna be some changes. This way, if anyone from the community comes back to us, or they go back into the records of the minutes that have transpired that were recorded, they can say, hey, this is not what was, that you all agreed on, that we agreed on. Instead, you know, just out of the courtesy for open transparency.
Thank you for that, Candy. I agree. And I hope we can continue to encourage transparency from developers and community partners, because we do have important goals in mind for the community. So.
Especially when there's a crisis.
I just want to add, like, I think that's an important point. I just want to make sure that we go back and confirm what they said to us before and what we wrote before we, you know, condemn anyone for any reason, but we should go back and check.
But I don't recall the whole 164 taking off. We would have made a bigger agreement with that, you know.
Definitely that. Okay, moving on to presentations and discussions. We'll first hear an informational presentation regarding voluntary inclusionary housing application for a residential development at 180 East 125th Street. So, we have someone on the call, or need to be
Jacob, there was a list of folks, but Mr. Spitzer from RE Tax Service and Mr. Krolowitz from JCS Realty.
Perfect, thank you. You can go ahead.
Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Spitzer from RE Tax Service. We're here today to present a new project currently being contemplated at 180 East 125th Street, Manhattan. This project will participate in the inclusionary housing program, which allows for additional FAR in exchange for providing affordable housing. I'm joined this evening by the development team, which includes Jamal Karalowitz from JCS Realty, the developer, and Esther Dakri from S9 Architecture, the project's architect. I'll hand now the microphone over to them for introduction. Following that, S9 Architecture will present this project by walking you through the site imagery, floor plans, etc. And feel free to ask any questions as we proceed.
Does the volume go any higher?
Hey, I'm Jamal Kralowitz here from the development team. And yeah, as Joseph mentioned, we're looking to begin a development here with voluntary inclusionary housing. It's going to be 15 stories with a rooftop, offering amenities. And on the first floor, we will have fresh and retail as well. And in the cellar, we'll offer additional amenities and some parking. Esther here from S9 is going to put up a presentation showing kind of what the outline of the project's going to be. And I guess we'll go through that. And if you have any questions, we can go through them at the end.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther Dockery. I'm an associate principal at S9, and I'm leading the efforts on this project for S9. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this is working.
But yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So yeah, we're very excited to be here tonight and to walk you through the design of where we are. So I want to start with some images of the neighborhood because as we design the project, we want to get a feel for the place, and we want to make sure that as we design, we stay in tune with our original ideas and design direction. So these images, I find them fascinating. I love the energy. I love the history that is depicted here, the culture, the vibrance. And to me, this is really representative of where we are and what we are designing for. So just to locate ourselves, the site is on 125th Street, bound by 3rd Avenue. To the south, bound by 124th Street, and then the block extends between Lexington and 3rd Avenue. We're really in the middle of like a bustling neighborhood here. There's restaurants, shops, cultural institutions, lots of residential, lots of foot traffic. So we want to respond to all these elements and also think about how we design a building that has an identity and fits within the surrounding environment. So here is a view of what we came up with. This is an overall rendering standing on 3rd Avenue, looking south at 125th Street and 3rd Avenue. You know, the facade is predominantly made of brick, and we're trying to express this energy and vibrance that of the surrounding neighborhood in our facade by designing this what we call a pattern of dancing windows and stepped setbacks that wrap around the building. As we move over to, this is a view from Lexington, looking at 125th Street, looking east. Our site is adjacent to the MTA lot. So we're going to have these lot line windows that will be there, exposed. And we're looking to treat those those lot line walls with artwork, with large scale murals. We're looking to commission maybe local artists for this job so that we create these walls that are additive to the neighborhood and the tenants within this community. So turning around, this is standing on 3rd Avenue, looking north. The corner has currently a 2-story fire department building. So here too, we have these lot line conditions, and we're looking to treat these conditions with murals commissioned by artists, if possible, as well. So now I'm kind of zooming into the ground plane. The storefront is treated with metal paneling and lots of glass to create transparency. There's going to be signage all across the street frontages and a louver band, and the brick piers will come down periodically to tie into the ground plane. And then zooming into these storefronts, we're looking to articulate the detailing as we, to create like human scale. We're looking to create some setbacks and frame around the storefronts, play with the brick installation using soldier courses and stacked brick to add detail on the ground plane, but also as we take the brick up in the course of the building, we're looking to add detail in that way. And then further down on 3rd Avenue, the residential entry, we're looking to set it apart from the commercial portion of the building, make it distinctly residential, but still tie it into the rest of the design of the building. So looking to maybe include some landscaping to mark the residential, make it more private and distinguish from the commercial portion of the building. Okay, and so next I'm going to walk you through the plans. So this is a site plan, just again locating our project along 125th Street and the corner of 3rd Avenue. South is 124th. We have the 2-story fire department, and then we have the MTA lot to the west. Zooming in on the ground floor, along 125th Street, we have retail. The retail wraps around onto 3rd Avenue. And then on the southern portion of 3rd Avenue, abutting the fire department, will be the residential entry. Part of the retail component will be a fresh food store, approximately mid-block on 125th Street. So the residential portion is the lobby and amenities are arranged around this this sunken garden. It's actually located on the cellar level and it's open to the sky. So this allows us to bring in a lot of natural light for the amenities and the residents in the building. Along 124th Street, we have the mailboxes and bike storage, service entry for the building, also for the loading for the supermarket, and the ramp that leads down to the parking garage. So here's a cellar floor plan. We have attended parking of approximately 100 or so parking spaces. You can see the garden is actually located at this level, open to the sky, bringing a lot of natural light into the heart of the building, and then residential amenities arranged around this garden, as well as some back of house program that is needed for the residential. So then moving on to the second floor now, this is the first floor that has residential units located on the podium of the retail. The second floor also has a large amenity space with access to one of these terraces. Here you can see the opening to the sunken garden. And then the residential units starting on this level. The units that are located on this level will have some private terraces on this podium level. And then moving up through the building, so floors 3 through 10, these are our typical floors. You can see highlighted here are the inclusionary housing units. I'll get into that in more detail when I talk about the unit mix. But the units are arranged around these two courtyards, providing light and air for the units. And then as we move up through the building, the floor plate gets smaller as we introduce the setbacks above the maximum base height. And moving up even further, this is floors 13 and 14, additional setbacks. And then the top floor is the 15th floor. This is the smallest floor plate, but you can see the inclusionary housing units are distributed equally throughout all the floors, horizontally and vertically. And then we have the roof terrace with residential amenities throughout, as well as mechanical equipment as required for the building. And then a snapshot of our unit mix. So as mentioned, the units are arranged within the 15 floors on floors 2 through 15. We have a total of 614 units, of which 88 are inclusionary. It's a mix of studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms, totaling in approximately 48% 1-bedrooms, 18% 2-bedrooms, and about 34% studios. And that concludes our presentation for today. With that, I'll turn it over to maybe Jamal from the development team, and questions if there are any.
Yeah, just to give an overview, we're offering 185 total affordable, when 88 will be the inclusionary housing. And those will be around the 70 and 80 AMI.
Can you repeat that?
It'll be a total affordable of 185 units out of the 614, and 88 of those units will be the inclusionary housing, and those will be set at the 70 and 80 AMI.
Thank you. Any additional parts of your presentation? Otherwise, we'll turn to committee questions.
Sorry?
Do you have any additional part of your presentation? Otherwise, we'll just turn to committee questions.
No, I mean, I could take any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Committee members, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate the detailing on the building. It does make it feel human. I did want to bring up that when we were reviewing the plans, the 88 inclusionary units appeared to mostly, if not all, be interior facing. It just seems like it would be, a little bit more equitable to disperse them around so that they have street facing views as well.
Okay. We can definitely take a look at that.
Hi, thank you, Esther and Jamal, for the presentation. If you could please share with us a copy of the slide deck that you just shared with us here. If you could email it to me here at the board office, I'm Angel. I've been emailing with you all in arranging scheduling this agenda item this evening. So if you send it to me so that I can share it with the committee and on our website, we'd appreciate that.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. And regarding to the 185 affordable housing, 88 of them is inclusionary, and you said the AMI is from 70 to 80% of the AMI. What is the remaining affordable housing AMI?
That would be 130.
130? Oh,
130% of the AMI.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Again, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate you coming before us. I see here there's 185 affordable units. Do you have the breakdown of what percentage are studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms between the affordable portion?
Yeah, we could provide that.
But yeah, we would appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, Kim.
So I see here that you also, I'm not sure if I missed it, you mentioned parking space?
Correct. We have stacked parking in the cellar.
In the cellar? And is that, you said 106 parking spaces? Is that correct, or is that subject to change?
Nope, that's what we're proposing.
Okay, so the residents are gonna be able to park there without paying, or they have to pay for parking? Or is
They
it come first served?
they would have to likely pay for parking. Yeah, I'm not sure it would come with the rent would come with the parking.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I just was seeing in the materials that there are also mobility and vision and hearing impaired units. You didn't speak to that at all, just if you could summarize that for everyone.
Yeah, there's a certain percentage that we need to provide for mobility and hearing impaired. That we are meeting that, I believe.
Yeah, it's 5% and 2%, and we're meeting that.
Go ahead, Benny.
Thank you. Is this project going through any ULIP action? Do we know? It's not, right? So this is kind of like an as of right kind of development. Right? Which is kind of why, I see less affordability as opposed to other developments we've seen come up, which makes sense, right? Some of those other projects of the disposition and conveyance of public lands. But, 130 of the AMI, in most cases, might pull it out of the affordability range for many people in the community. I know it has to be a feasible project for you guys, so there's some consideration that be granted to that, I think would lend itself to being a better project for those in the community. Is this project going to have you guys looked at a designated construction manager, a general contractor at this point?
We're in the process of looking at that.
And is that, in that construction portion of the project, is it gonna yield any type of prevailing wages or union rates and wages for this project?
This will not be a prevailing wage project, no.
Are you mandating any type of wage scale for developers and for the contractors that are coming on site to conduct work? And in addition to that, are you requiring the contractor or construction manager to bring on board a local hiring plan and requirements and goals and percentages of local hirees for said project?
It's not currently a requirement that we're mandating, but it's not something that we would be against or looking into, of course, to bring in people from the community that are, looking to participate and work into the workforce here.
Okay, okay, so it's really not required, okay. Yeah, but that might be something else that you guys might wanna take a look at if you can. I know there's much to this project that entails whether this is gonna be doable or not, but certainly a project that's gonna yield over 600 units of housing into the community here. It's a massive construction project. There should be some type of local hiring plan. That should be at the minimum considered. Thank you.
Understood.
Thank you, Vinny. Beverly?
Yes, my question is going back to the affordability units. The mobility units, you said is 2 to 5%. Is that coming from out of the 185 affordable units that you have for affordability? And the 88 inclusionary housing?
Yeah, it's equally distributed, so all units will have, all unit types will have equal ADA percentages, yes.
No, Cindy, you follow?
Yeah, I have follow-up. I think the question is, and Beverly, correct me if I'm wrong, is the 5% coming from the over the 600 units at 5% and 2% of the whole total project of the apartments? Or are you looking for mobility and hearing impaired units just to come out of the numbers from the affordable numbers, which was the 185?
It's all of them, all the units. It's from all the units. So 5%.
Okay, so that's the calculation, 5% of the 600 and some odd. Okay,
Yes.
and 2%. Thank you so much.
Any additional questions from committee members? Angel?
Uh, Thanks again for agreeing to present. We've seen at our office, many notifications for voluntary inclusionary housing applications and always made an invitation. And until today, never been the beneficiaries of such a presentation. So thank you for that. Also, the what is often referred to as the former Pathmark site has been, a blight on our community for a very long time. So it is good to see movement there on that project. On that site. We had, and we will be hearing from the MTA next, been in conversations with the MTA, understanding what their plans are. And, we were kind of concerned about how the MTA's plans would impede or affect any development on the remainder of the block. So it's good to hear that you all have taken on this task and move this project forward, or are planning to move this project forward. So thank you for that. When do you anticipate that you'll break ground, or when are you hoping to be breaking ground on this project?
Right. So yeah, we're very eager as well. We actually have been in touch with the MTA and speaking to them to coordinate these projects together so that goes smoothly. We are looking to break ground around April to May is our goal. And yeah, we're very eager. We've just completed just across the bridge 2 projects in the Bronx there on Bruckner Boulevard, 40 Bruckner and 138 Bruckner. We like to build buildings that we can keep. We hold on to them. We manage them. So it's something that we take pride in. We try to build a building that's high quality, that's going to be something easy to manage. And yeah, we want to successfully complete the job. So I know this has been kind of going back and forth, this plot here on what's going to be done there. And we are very eager to get in there and start as soon as possible and have a completed project for everyone in the community.
Great, thank you. We look forward to also engaging, building on what Vinny was asking before about, opportunities for local hiring. We have a very talented local workforce, and we very much like to connect you with that workforce. Additionally, we have, very interested and very, entrepreneurial community that would be interested in the commercial spaces made available by this project. So we'd like to engage you all as we go along in trying to help inform, ideas that you'll consider in leasing those spaces. So we look forward to continuing to speak with you all in those regards.
I'll allow two more questions, Beverly, and then Melissa.
Yeah, so my question still about affordability. Right now, you said that the affordability for the units, inclusionary is 70 to 80%. When do you plan to finish this project? Because once you finish, it will be marketing at a higher AMI as, you know, at the market time, at the time of finishing and marketing, and have you calculated that into your, performer, I believe that's the name of it? To, for affordability for the community?
Yeah, we are looking to have this completed in the winter of 2026. So that is our goal, which is not too far in the future. So that is what we are pushing for here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
Could you just explain the or just go into the amenities? I know that you have a sunken garden and other than parking, what are the amenities that are being offered to the occupants of this building? You know, like some places have gym memberships and gyms, they have movie theater rooms and stuff. So I'm just curious as to any extras that because you mentioned the amenities.
Yeah, we're looking, there's like, we're gonna have a rooftop terrace, we're gonna have working lounges, we're gonna have like a coffee bar, there'd be a gym, there will be, we have a pool and spa in the cellar as well, kids room, movie theater. We're gonna pack it full of everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions from members of the public? All right, thank you so much for coming in and for your presentation today. As is our committee's typical practice, we'll spend this time evaluating the project, reviewing the materials, and in our next meeting, we'll then make a determination about the project. So thanks again for coming by, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving to our next. I'm sorry.
So for VIHs, you're certainly welcome to submit comments on the application, but there's no requirement. It's as of right, and if you could just give me 2 seconds, I need to switch hosting so we don't lose connection.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
We go off the record or something,
But yeah, you can introduce the next folks. I just need to click over.
great, not a problem. Okay. Next on our agenda is an update on the status of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority's intended rezoning application for 125th Street and Lexington Avenue. And we'll be with the MTA's Transit Oriented Development Team.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Excellent. So my name is Matthew Petrus. I see some familiar faces there. I'm on the MTA's Transit Oriented Development Team. In a previous role, I was actually at City Planning. I was a liaison to East Harlem's Community Board, so exciting to be back here this time for rezoning that the MTA is actually proposing. I'm also joined by Joe O'Donnell, who is kind of heading up all of our outreach for Second Avenue Subway. You're welcome to ask questions about that, but I would say that this is more focused on what we're trying to do that's non-transit use on these sites. All right. I think everybody can see my screen here. So as mentioned in the previous presentation, we own the other side of this block. So the former Pathmark site, MTA owns the block front that's on 125th and Lex. And here we're proposing a rezoning on this block to a higher density that would match the transit investments that we're looking to put in through the Second Avenue subway. This might be familiar to some folks, but this is the Second Avenue subway alignment or the new route. So the Second Avenue subway will be extending north along Second Avenue from 96th Street. There'll be 3 new stations. So at 106th Street, 116th Street, and then the terminus at 125th Street. There's going to be 300,000 daily riders in both phase 1 and phase 2. So a significant amount of riders along this new line. And we're anticipating significant time savings for some commuters. That's up to 20 minutes. as you folks are probably aware, this is really trying to correct a transit equity, or I should say inequity, that's been existing in this neighborhood for quite a long time, since the elevated came down decades ago. So we're really excited to, build this project, and even more excited that it's, moving again after the congestion pricing pause. And so right in the center of the screen there is 125th and Lex. We've had to acquire a number of properties along this alignment. A lot of that, or I should say all of that, is so we can actually build the subway beneath. That'll be for stations, for what we call ancillary buildings, which are basically the back of house spaces, and also just places where we can put down the tunnel boring machine, which is the big digger that's actually going to dig the tunnel itself. In addition to those transit uses, we're actually looking to activate these spaces with non-transit uses as well. And that's really what my group does. So we're investing quite a big sum of money, just under $7 billion, to build the Second Avenue subway. And what we want to do is not just build a subway, but also position our properties so that non-transit uses can come in next to them and over them. Something we've learned from phase 1 is that we want to have prominent entrances. This is just a rendering of what our entrance at 125th and Park Avenue might look like. This isn't exactly what it's going to look like, but we're hoping to give an intent of what our design is going to do, which is activate the corners, be transparent, be welcoming, be open, and really not break up the active ground floors that exist in the neighborhood. We're also looking to engineer these structures so that we can build over them and next to them in the future. And so right now we're working with our engineers to redesign these facilities where they need to be so that we can put housing and jobs next to them. And so right now that's really what I'm here for, is to look to entitle these properties or get the zoning in place so that we can move forward with future development, which is not going to be for a number of years. So we don't have as many pretty renderings as the last presentation, but want to show you kind of what we're thinking in terms of the massing. So here's another area of the project area. I think most are probably familiar with the site, but this is, we're on the block, on the west side of the block. So we're bound by 125th, Lexington, and 124th. So that's lot 20 is vacant. And then lot 27, we just saw a great presentation on, and lot 33 is the city-owned firehouse. Here are some photos of the site. I won't spend too much time here. This is what a vacant site looks like. This is what the former Pathmark site looks like. And here is our infrastructure. So the yellow in this diagram is the new Second Avenue subway. And so you can see starting at the bottom of the screen, that's the new station that we're going to put in. So it's the 125th Street station on the Q line. It's underneath the Lexington Avenue line. So you can see that in green right there. And then as you come up to street level, you see the new entrance, which will connect to both lines, as well as behind what's shown as a massing there. You can kind of ignore the building. That's more of a placeholder and for illustrative purposes. But what is labeled as vent is our back of house spaces. And so this has, electrical rooms, it has communication rooms, but most significantly, it has ventilation. And what that does is it provides fresh air in and out of the subway tunnels, and also serves as a critical fire safety function where if there's an emergency in the subway, we can evacuate smoke through those vent towers. So here we're putting in a prominent new entrance to the Q that's again going to connect to the 456. We're anticipating tens of thousands of transfers at this station alone. So a lot of new commuters are going to be using this station. And we're also hoping that's going to relieve some of the congestion on the Lexington Avenue line, because that's the closest one here to the east. And then if you look to the far right, we see the Metro North Viaduct on Park Avenue. And again, we're anticipating thousands of transfers from to and from Metro North to the new Q station. To jump into the zoning, I won't spend too much time on the technicalities here, just to say that there were two previous neighborhood-wide rezonings, which some of you may be familiar with. Almost 2 decades ago, it was the 125th Street Special District. You can see the site that's circled there in red. That district is currently mapped on the site, and so those special district rules apply here. And what happened was the C44 district, which is a medium density commercial district, was rezoned to a contextual district and one that has height limits and matches the surrounding character of buildings there. And then in East Harlem, this site was not included in changes of density. And really, as I recall, and as I've read in the approvals then, and as I worked on actually on East Harlem, was really to try to preserve the Pathmark site from closing, which ended up happening anyway. And so now kind of we're looking to up that density there, not just because it's new density on the site, but also because most importantly, we're going to be adding a significant amount of transit. And when you can pair high density residential and jobs around transit, just results in better outcomes for neighborhoods. So here's the current zoning. As I mentioned, it's contextual, but what I want to point out on this slide is that just less than a block to the west, you can see where it says a C64 district. And so this was mapped during the East Harlem rezoning. It was a higher density site, and it's really to say, look, there's a lot of transit around this space. There's a viaduct here. This site can handle density. So those 3 block faces that are fronting on 125th and Park have that higher density. And what we're looking to do is replicate that density at 125th and Lex. So what we would do is, this is the most technical slide. What we're proposing now, and again, this is not in public review. We're months away from that. We just wanted to to introduce the project to the community board. What we would do is change the underlying district from that C44D to a C64, which is the same district that exists just a block away. And we would also write in a new sub-district. And this is really where the special district regulations help to create bulk that is sympathetic to the surrounding neighborhood character. And so we're taking those same regulations that are there, which is putting in a minimum base height of 60 along 125th and 40 feet elsewhere, and then a maximum base height of 85. And so this is to keep the base of the building a little bit lower, a little bit more in context with the surrounding medium and lower rise buildings that are there. What is also mapped in that Park Avenue district, which is where the C64 is tower coverage regulations. So in zoning, tower coverage means you don't really have height limits. Those are dictated by different rules. But I do want to note on this site that because of our proximity to LaGuardia, I know it seems far away, but it's not far away as the plane flies, literally. We're kind of capped at 400 feet. And so what we're going to show is a building that's actually below that flight path. And so here's what the project is. And so this presentation is focusing in on what the MTA in the future will be able to do on its lot. So the density that we would look to put in via zoning would result in over 540 units, and up to 160 of those units would be affordable. And something we do want feedback from the community board on is what levels of affordability you would like to see here. So some folks might be familiar with MIH options. When we do this rezoning, we are mapping MIH as well. So any development that is done on our lot in the future will have to have mandatory inclusionary housing. Whether that's 20%, 25%, or 30%, we want to hear from you on what that is and what those corresponding bands would be. And I can talk to you a little bit about in the Q&A what we were thinking, and we can just kind of talk through that. So here's without and with the rezoning. So the building on the left, JCS has said they're looking to break ground soon. Separately, our team is also working with them to make sure that we can meet their timelines. And so what we're showing is that the rezoning here wouldn't actually impact their development at all. And they've indicated the same, that they're looking to break ground with the design that you saw. So just on the MTA lot, which is that L-shaped portion there, which is pretty much dwarfed by that gray vent building behind, we could only put in about 158 units. And those 158 units would actually be cast in shadow most of the day because of the needs of the vent building and the height that's required there. The layout is not as efficient as it could be, but most significantly, it doesn't really have a density that would be appropriate given the transit infrastructure that's going to be put in and around the site. So on the right, post rezoning, this is what could result. And so we're looking at a significant amount of unit shift. So from 540, and I should note too, on the left, there's no requirement for affordable housing, but on the right, there would be that requirement map. And so this is just a massing. This is not exactly what the building will look like. I think folks will know it's not going to be blue like this, and it may change form a little bit. But just so you get a sense, this rises to about 38 floors, and I believe this one is about 385 feet is currently massed. And just for environmental review, I don't want, when this comes back in public review, that you see this very scary looking diagram on the right. I just want to say that for purposes of environmental review, to be the most conservative, to understand what the impact of the rezoning would be in what's called the reasonable worst case development scenario, which is one where you have the tallest buildings, the most density, the most amount of retail, the most amount of other types of development programs. You just want to understand what those are. And so this is actually what we're going to study, is this zoning diagram here, to understand what those impacts could be. But in reality, what we're probably going to see is what exists here on the right, so that post rezoning. But just, I wanted to flag this just in case later on you said Matt lied to us in that meeting. These are much bigger buildings than we anticipated, but this is just the zoning envelope, and I'm happy to talk about those technicalities a little bit later as well. Here's just a neighborhood character diagram. I understand these buildings are taller than what exist, but they're not completely without context. Tino Towers is over 300 feet. There's been new developments that are popping up that are over 200 feet. And then again, the density that exists just a block to the west on Park Avenue can go up to 400 feet today. We actually own, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but just to the right of the Park Avenue Viaduct, MTA also owns that lot. And so in the future, we're looking to do something similar there, but the zoning is in place, but so that density is appropriate, and we're not looking to do any changes there currently. But here's kind of what that 125th Street corridor would look like following the redevelopment of these under the proposed zoning. And again, that where you see 325 in development site, this is actually going to be what JCS presented, so it'll be shorter than this building. So you might be asking, why are you coming now? You may have heard 2032 is when we're looking to open up 2nd Avenue subway. That's quite a ways off, and we're the MTA. Our first and foremost priority is to make sure that we can move New Yorkers around New York. And so what we're doing now is entitling the property. So prior to, there's a lot of steps that we have to do before we can actually break ground on this new residential building that we're anticipating. So that red box is where we are today. We are in the pre-ULURP phase. We are looking to certify in May, so that's the official public review. But then following that, we would need to do coordination or continue coordinating with our engineers to design our facilities so they can accommodate this development. But then significantly, we also need to go through another process at the state and federal levels, because we have federal dollars for this, to make sure that whatever we're planning on building there that is non-transportation use doesn't impact the transportation use. And that is something that takes a long time, and that is something that we need to have the city approvals in place before we can even start that process. And so there you can see at the very end, after the 2nd Avenue subway opens and we are all riding that queue line together, that's when we would look to construct this transit-oriented development. So that would open in 2035 is what we're anticipating. So that's all I have. I'll take any questions you have now. Again, this is a preview of what we're looking to enter public review with. So just wanted to introduce this topic to you all today.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's really appreciated. Do we have questions from committee members? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Are we going to receive copies of this presentation that we can digest it all and so, come back to it?
Absolutely.
Chair, can I just make a point of clarification to that statement? For all members, board, public, visitors, every presentation that gets presented in front of this body is posted on our website. If there's a concern that you have I'm not making it personal, but we could. If there is a concern with a specific presentation that is not up, I need to know, because I don't know. But as far as understand with the air table, with the emails we get, the presentation form they fill out, it's always given. And with MTA, they're public. I'm more worried about the private, like the last presentation.
Yeah.
But the public, the ULIP stuff, it's not only given to us, it's given to everybody. So I'm not making that a candy thing. This is a
No,
board,
I'm
a
saying
board
it
wide thing.
because I didn't see it on the air table. And I
Okay,
didn't
they just presented
I
it today.
just printed this out, so
Yeah.
I just.
Understood.
Come back.
We'll make sure we have it on the airtable at the end of tonight. Thank you both. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you, Matthew, for your presentation. I think just, I just answer your question at the beginning about what we would be looking for housing. Like, I think the committee would agree that the deepest levels of affordable housing, the lowest levels of AMI, formerly homeless, is something that we don't get from the as of right developments that we just heard about before this. So, sort of juxtaposing that 130% AMI with like the 30% AMI is really important. And I think, as you noticed in the previous presentation, the big focus for developers lately seems to be studio and 1 bedrooms. I think more than 2/3 of that last project was studios and 1 bedroom. So the need in East Harlem is for 2 and 3 bedroom apartments that fit families' needs. So with those two elements combined, I think hopefully that helps to lead the future project in the right direction. But I did have one question about the vent area. I understand, I'm an architect and I understand that, the requirements for these kinds of emergency elements, but I just am concerned about the experience on the street on 124th Street. I know that gray building will house other things, but is it possible in some ways to, move the venting up in the building so that, that ground floor can be activated a little bit, or, that just the sheer scale of the vertical plane there with, 30% of it being vent makes it feel like that it could be the backyard of this building in a bad way, you know what I mean?
Totally. And so this is we were recently here, or actually we were not here recently, but we were with the former owner of this site. And so this site has a special transit land use easement, which you can see on the right. So this is looking northeast, and a special transit land use easement is really just saying MTA needs this space for the 2nd Avenue subway. Something we learned from phase 1, if you're down, at 86, 87th Street and you see our vent buildings, they are blank facades. They do break up the, continuity down there. That's not something we wanted to repeat here. And so you can see the red, that's where our backup house space will be. But the gray beneath it here on the corner of Lex and 124th, we've actually taken that out of the easement. And that is going to be open. We're anticipating for retail because we wanted to keep that some type of continuity there. We do need those vents to obviously go to the subway system. So there does need to be some frontage that connects to those subway system. And those vent shafts are big, but we have, minimized those to the greatest extent possible so that we're not just creating these blank walls in the neighborhood. So definitely noted there. And that's something we actually anticipated back in 2023 based off the feedback from both this community board and also just the public generally.
Thank you. That basically resolves my concern.
Excellent.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Matthew. So for the development of the units, and for the development of that building, is it the MTA that's gonna act as developer, or does now that property gets turned over to a developer who then now develops that, and is that developer has to adhere to any of MTA's recommendation as such, or is that now subject to ULIP as well?
So, build housing, we build subways, but we do partner with the private sector through a similar process that the city follows, just in terms of their request for proposals. So we would, prior to 2032, probably 2031, you would see a public issuance of that RFP go out. And we would say, this is the site we want to develop. here's the criteria, and we would name the certain criteria in there. And then we would get back bids from the private development community that maximizes our revenue. And I should note that, you know, we are 100% supportive of affordable housing. But one of the reasons we have a double bottom line for these transit-oriented developments, the first is that we want development next to our subway system and, you know, throughout the region. The second is that all of that money feeds back into our capital program. So we use these to leverage kind of the dollars that we can make on our property, and we put them right back into the public system. So it's a longer way to answer your question, that you wouldn't actually see this in ULURP for the disposition, because the MTA is not subject to ULURP for when we dispose of our property. That is subject to our board though. And so those RFPs would go to our board. You would see what that designation would look like. But again, that's a process that would take place in about 7 years from now.
Right, so there will be a disposition of the property to the developer.
Yeah, so we would have a development partner. We typically don't sell our properties outright here. We more than likely would not do that either, because we have very critical infrastructure here. This may be too in the weeds, but we would enter into a 99-year ground lease, which is typically our structure.
Thank you, man.
So we're not going anywhere either, but you know, maybe we will have the expertise in 7 years to build residential buildings, in which case I'll see you then. But until then, it's RFPs.
Yeah, don't hold your breath. I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then I just want to remind folks too that this is pre-year, so we'll have a lot of time to go over this project, to review this project, to scrutinize the project. So I do want to kind of push things along, but before we do, I think, did George James have a question in the chat or in the online?
Great. Thank you. I do. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, this is, if you're doing this as a sub-district in a special district, that means you have the zoning mechanism to actually define your building envelope a little bit more carefully than what you showed in the environmental review, right? So you were showing like a 155-foot street wall in the reasonable worst case development scenario. You don't have to do that. You could write a 85-foot street wall into the sub-district special district. And
George, I knew you were going to catch that. That's an error. It is 85 feet. I was reading that slide and I was like, oh, it's way too big. George is going to raise his hand. It is 85 feet. You're 100% right. And again, yeah, it is a sub-district too. And so if there's requirements, you know, that you'd like to see that tinkering here and there, we're absolutely open to hearing
that's
those out.
great. I mean, because if you have that mechanism, there's no reason to oversize it, right? You can actually make it what you want it to be and write it into the sub-district. So thank you for that. I do have one brief other question. This block is one zoning lot except for the firehouse. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any last questions? Otherwise, I'll move it to questions from members of the public. Anyone? All right, thank you so much. That was going to be helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you sometime in the near future.
Okay, see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along, we have one more presentation today. We have an informational presentation regarding the proposed Carmen Villegas Senior Housing Project at 101 East 110th Street. Do we have folks from Ascending on the call? And also, sorry.
Yes, we're here on the call.
Great, good to see you guys. Go ahead.
All right, give me one moment. Sorry, just got a lot of files open. It's good to see everyone again. Coming off of the Beacon project just a few months ago, to be back here again for a great, another great affordable housing project in the community. 1 second. Just having a screen share issue. 1 moment. All right. Can everyone see all right? And
yes,
hear us okay? Okay, great. So yeah, my name is James Chikov, Manhattan Senior Planner at HPD, joined by my director, Melissa Otten. And we have folks from the development team who will introduce themselves during the presentation. So we're excited to be here to present the Carmen Villegas Apartments project as we gear up for ULURP in early 2025. So we'll go through an introduction of the development site to orient ourselves, share the land use act, the proposed land use actions. Then the team will take you through the project overview, affordability and unit mix, and programs on the site, as well as sustainability and local hiring. So to begin with a bit of background, the development site will be located on the underutilized existing parking lot of the privately owned Casita Park housing for the elderly at 110 East 111th Street. And Casita Park is owned by Ascendant Neighborhood Development. The applicant team for this ULURP will be HPD, Ascendant, Xylem Projects, and the Urban Builders Collaborative, which is the development arm of Latier Construction Corp. The development team is also comprised of the aforementioned organizations. HPD and the development team is anticipating ULURP certification in the first quarter of 2025. And the proposed project will be one 28-story new residential building with approximately 210 senior housing units, plus one superintendent's unit to be developed under HPD's Senior Affordable Rental Apartments program known as SARA. And so here's an aerial view of the site for a little more context. The current tax and zoning lot encompasses the entirety of Lot 1, which is highlighted in blue and where Casita Park is located. And the development site highlighted in red will be using development rights from the entire zoning lot to achieve its height and its floor area. The proposed project is located on the corner of Park Avenue and East 110th Street to the north of the NYCHA Clinton houses. And so to facilitate the proposed project, the applicant team proposes the following land use actions. HPD proposes to acquire previously city-owned property on block 1638, part of lot 1, the development site that I mentioned. This property in its entirety was previously conveyed to Ascendant through a UDAP action in the year 2000 for the development of Casita Park. And then we will dispose of the development site on that part of lot 1. Ascendant, Xylem Projects, and Urban Builders Collaborative propose to rezone the area that's highlighted in the dotted black line to an R9-1 district and a zoning text amendment to map in mandatory inclusionary housing or MIH area. And so now I'll turn it over to the development team who will introduce themselves and speak in more detail about the project.
Good evening, Community Board 11, coming to you from Latier Construction's offices over on 110th Street between 1st and 2nd. Nick and Gerard have been over here for 45 years. I'm a partner with them in Urban Builders Collaborative, filling in for our fearless leader, Chris Cirillo from Ascendant. Ascendant has been a community partner for decades. They own 28 buildings with approximately almost 700 apartments, all affordable with a significant pipeline. You're familiar with Beacon that recently came before you. And our other co-development partner, a certified NWBE, Xylem Projects, Nana Lynch, the principal, who brings a tremendous amount of experience from the Bloomberg administration and then commercial real estate finance, and has been a critical piece to get us to where we are today. And let's keep it moving. As discussed, the project overview, 210 affordable apartments, 100% affordable, 100% senior. Some of the amenity spaces, 2,000 square feet of indoor space, the laundry room, community room, and exercise room in the 6th floor, which we'll have a separate slide on. You'll be able to see. 2,800 square feet of the outdoor amenity space includes a open corridor between the Casablanca Meat Building on 110. We're calling that Salsa Way, and it'll be a great feature for the residents of the building. And then on the corner of 110th and Park on the 1st and 2nd floor, we have approximately 7,200 square feet of leasable community facility space, which we are underneath an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and working with SAGE, a nationally recognized LGBTQ plus advocacy group for seniors. We're really excited for them to be relocating from their existing Harlem location to this new building. And we have taken sustainability as far as we can. We'll get into that more. As you can see, we are going to be Passive House Institute of the US. That's what FIA stands for. We will be passive certified. You can see all of the solar. Again, we'll talk more on that and some of the other elements, including the geothermal and some of the resilient measures that we've incorporated here. And getting into that great amenity space, this is on the 6th floor. And as you can see, some of that green plantings, that is all outdoor terrace space. This is specifically for the residents of the building. And you can see all of the uses. We have multiple community rooms. We have the exercise room, some other just back of the house storage, and we're really excited about this space. As you know, senior buildings have smaller apartments, and so we have really big windows to let in a lot of light, and we have this great outdoor space for all of our senior residents. Proposed unit mix and affordability, and so this is, again, 100% affordable. We have been awarded 100% of the apartments have been awarded project-based Section 8 vouchers from the New York City Housing Authority. Along with that, 70% of those apartments are up to 50% of the area median income. And so that 50%, there is no minimum. Folks can come in and not have any income. They could just have supplemental security income or other government subsidy. And so there is no sort of minimum. Question we get asked a lot, but the maximum would be up to 50% of seniors' incomes. And there is this set aside for formerly homeless, and those referrals come from the Department of Homeless Services. And that is 63 apartments you can see here on the slide of formerly homeless apartments. And just in terms of the age brackets, right? So of the up to 50% of AMI, 70% of those apartments, the 100, those are up to 62 years of age. 62 is the minimum. And the formerly homeless, that age is actually starting at 55 years age and then up. So again, the formerly homeless, that 30% set aside is 55 years and older. And then the other 70% is 62 years and older. And just in terms of the unit mix, you have the total studios is 163 or 77%, and then the one bedrooms is 48 or 23%. And these are all within the standards of the SARA, the Senior Affordable Rental Apartment Program through HPD. I think we covered everything there. Again, the project-based vouchers for 100% of the apartments. And you can see the income limits, again, the 30% set aside, and then the other 70% apartments will be up to 50% of AMI. This is a slide, SAGE services that will be provided on site, all the comprehensive services, their partnerships that they have established. They work with union settlement. They work with the hospitals for any crisis situations. They have a strong network in place, something that we presented to the Community Board's Health and Human Services Committee earlier this week. They had some good feedback and some good questions, and something, again, we want to continue to build on that network with our team. Again, our whole team is based in Harlem, Ascendant, UBC, Latier, and Xylem, all based in Harlem. So we have a really deep network of partnerships, and we look to continue to integrate that into the project. Keep moving to the next slide, and it's something we're really proud of. We really took this sustainability and resiliency as far as we can, and the state has recognized that, and we were awarded through the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority the Building of Excellence around $4 million for the project, which will allow us to incorporate a bunch of different features, including the solar array on the rooftop, as well as the building integrated photovoltaic that you can see on the facade of the building, as well as tapping into the ground for the water source, the geothermal for both heating, cooling, and for the hot water. And we're planning anywhere from we're still finalizing that design, anywhere from 25 to 35 boreholes that'll go about 800 feet below ground. And we're looking to also have some potential extra boreholes so that in the future, whenever Casita Park is ready for that rehab, that they could also utilize some of that geothermal energy, and we can create a little mini district here. We really are trying to look far into the future. The resiliency, this has been designed, talk about looking into the future to the 2080 floodplain. We've elevated all of the mechanical systems. We have a whole redesign with the stormwater detention tank that ties in with both Casita, the existing Casita Park, and the new CVA project. And then just some other information here, just the Passive House certification, and then that we did win a Blue Ribbon Design and Excellence Award for the sort of research and development part of this. A bunch of our design professionals put in a lot of time and effort to come up with this really sustainable and progressive, environmentally progressive design. And it's something that we're really always excited about is our local hiring plan. Something that we've been working with the community for a long time on. We've really taken it pretty far, and just in terms of the connections, the training. This is again a Section 8 project-based voucher, so it will be prevailing wage. We've successfully worked with Local 79 on a similar SARA project, so we're looking to bring back Local 79 through local contacts here to really make the connections. We've been working with Positive Workforce for decades, and just look forward to continuing all of the great work we've done over at 109 East 125th Street, and just continuing to build on that success and integrating that at every level, whether it's entry level, skilled labor, and also with any subcontractors and vendors. And again, the general contractor Latier has been based in East Harlem for 45 years, and we're just really excited to be building again in the neighborhood and committed. We also have some other projects with Ascendant that are recently started, Las Raíces, and so we have a lot to build on with that, as well as the Beacon, and then this will follow up here. So we're really excited to really get a lot of local hires on here at a bunch of different levels. I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. One technical for the geothermal. Where else has this been done? And I would like to speak, I wanted, how can I simply say this? I want an example that I could go and look at, say, tomorrow.
Okay, I can come up with a list. I don't have them off the top of my head, but there have been several projects in New York City that have utilized the geothermal. We have already performed a 500-foot borehole to confirm the thermal capacity. So we have done that and taken that step to make sure that this actually works. And all the geology and all the signs point to a really high level of energy that we're going to be able to get from the ground here. But I will follow up, Jason, with specifics, with specific projects for you, so that yeah.
Go ahead, finish your statement. I'm sorry.
No, so that you can go check them out and go see them.
And second question is to the community facility space. What inclined the design team to choose Sage, specifically LGBTQ, for this senior housing building?
And so there was a lot of research that has been performed by Ascendant. The rezoning in 2017, this site was left out, and from 2017 till now, there's been a whole bunch of different studies. Some have been formalized, and I believe that we can share those with CB11. But there really is a need for just seniors in the LGBTQ community, and so there's a lot of data out there, and that was really the basis, right? It was a lot of research and data, and then just talking in the community. Something I would look to, Chris unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. He had something came up, but could definitely follow up more with that, with specific examples, and again, that report of how we ended up with Sage.
Thank you. And that just leads to my final, Chair, if you don't mind, which is a follow-up to the second part. So in theory, the property management team is going to be looking to prefer these spaces for LGBTQ senior citizens. And you don't have to answer that question right now.
Sorry about the apartments.
Can you repeat the question? I think I didn't know if it was about the residential or about the community.
Is there going to be preference for this particular building, right? For this project that we gave, permission to HPD to allot for the public? Is it going to be slated specifically for with a preference to senior citizens that identify as LGBTQ?
No, there will be no preference.
Violates fair housing law, so no, that can't be. No, this is just seniors that meet the age requirements.
Thank you.
Jessica, sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. Just two quick questions. One, I know that primarily senior housing is one bedrooms. I'm just curious if in the history of working with senior housing that there's been any cases of grandparents raising grandchildren or something like that that might lend itself to have some 2-bedroom units for a project like this. And then my second question is about the Casita Park you mentioned as planned for renovation in the future. As I understand, that would also be within the R91 rezoning. Would that also be fully affordable in the future?
So just I'll start with the second part of that. So Casita Park has a deed restriction. It was originally a 202 building, and so that's a senior. That's also an income rent restricted senior building that will remain under that same restriction in perpetuity. There's no plan to take that out. So any rehab would just maintain the current status of affordability there. And then in terms of seniors raising grandkids in these types of units, in our experience, we definitely see lots of different folks in families coming into the senior apartments. And I think this is something more for HPD in terms of different programs and targeting. And here, the SARA program is specific to individuals to age in place. And it is not specifically intergenerational under one roof type of housing, and those programs are very specific. I'll look to Melissa or James to add more there.
Sure, and yeah, you kind of led into the purpose of the SARA program is to age in place. And as we know, there's a lot of seniors in need. So, you know, the SARA units do tend to be studios and 1 bedroom so that we can maximize the number of units that we provide in these projects. You know, we are trying to bring a lot of family size units in our other projects here in East Harlem. And those projects definitely do not preclude seniors. Seniors could live in those projects, and you know, those could be for intergenerational families. And I think in some of those projects we have you know, committed to doing targeted outreach to senior populations. But again, yeah, the SARA program and buildings are 1 bedrooms and studios, as far as I know.
Thank you. And I just one final point, I know seniors, you know, especially living alone in a 1 bedroom apartment or a studio apartment, the prevailing issue is loneliness. So I'm glad that you're providing the services that you're providing, and if that could be paid special attention moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. No, so that's again.
Just as a follow-up to Jessica's question, but from a different angle. There are a lot of seniors who need home health aides, and some of them sometimes need them to stay overnight. And I do know that some of the requirements of home health aid agencies is that the home health aide has its own room or designated place for them to sleep. So in issues where there's only just a 1 bedroom, let's say it's a couple, sometimes the agency does not really allow them to sleep, let's say, in the living room, because they require the worker to have some privacy. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that it doesn't necessarily need to be an intergenerational thing where a senior may need the extra room. It can also follow that there's a couple that one of the partners has specific health needs that needs to have his own dedicated space, depending on machinery or anything like that. And so sometimes these couples need almost like a 2 bedroom. So it's just not because you're a certain age, that downsizing is always appropriate. It's sometimes based on, you know, the actual living circumstances. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I also wanted to applaud the idea of bringing a community to the building that can give support services, because back in 2003, we did research on the fact that there were very little places where LGBT seniors can congregate, and a lot of them were loneliness and suicidal. So something like that, but that is broad for the entire community, not that just the building feels that those services are just targeted for specific, you know, group that identifies a certain way. I agree with Jessica, because of loneliness and other factors, that to please ensure that everyone understands that the services are there for everyone, and that there's a targeted outreach to all who occupy the building. Thank you.
And I'll go to you, Vinny, but I think first, I think George James got a question in the chat.
Yeah, sure. So I noticed that you're doing a rezoning from R7-2 and R7B to R9-1. Which suggests that you're going more than 100 feet from the wide street. If that's right, that you're going, you know, the R9 more than 100 feet into the block, can you talk about your decision and how you drew that boundary and why you're doing that? Because typically the high density is within 100 feet of the wide street.
It's a good question. I know, right? We're at 118 on the width. And there was a technical reason, and our guru Chris is not here to answer that. So I'm gonna have to, I don't want to get this wrong, because I never want to disappoint George James on a technical question. So I'd like to defer that I can follow up. It's been a little while, so it's been a couple of years since we kind of visited that specific question.
Okay.
Sure, and I'll hop in here and also say, yeah, this I think this decision was made quite a while back, and I'm sorry that we actually don't have the history on that. It probably there was a conversation with DCP about about the zoning boundaries, and that's, you know, for different reasons we settled on this. So we can also check in with our partners at DCP to see if they have the historical knowledge about the boundaries there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah, had to do with the adjacent property owners, but we need to get back to the. Yep.
Thank you. Vinny, you still have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So just want to thank the presentation team for presenting this project. It's really good to see a project that yields 100% affordability and 100% seniors at areas of income from 0 to 50% of the AMI. Instead of 130% of the AMI. So want to applaud the team here. And certainly just also state that Latier Construction, as Matt mentioned, based in Harlem for over 4 decades, 45 years, have always been first in line to really put together a great local hiring plan. So really looking forward to this project. Congratulations on Passive House Design Award, 70,000 square feet to community facility use. In addition to all of that, it's really looks like a grand slam hit. Carmen Villegas Apartments, I got to work with her for myself for many years. Good recognition to someone who, you know, was in the front lines here in our community. So thank you for that. My question is, when is the start date? When is this kicking off?
I would, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So we are working towards entering ULURP in the early part of 2025, in the first few months. So we'll have a more clearer date. We'll be in touch with CB11 once we get closer to filing the application with our colleagues at DCP. And so that ULURP process will take us, you know, about 7 months. So we're hoping to receive approvals by the end of the summer, early fall of 2025. And then, you know, that will also paint a clearer picture for the financial closing phase and when construction can begin. But, you know, the team has been working closely with HPD for a number of years now. So we're hoping that that process afterwards can be efficient and get construction started. But we don't have, you know, a clearer start date there, but we do have a clear picture now of ULURP, and we can, you know, provide a certain date of when we'll certify soon.
Thank you.
We're pushing for a closing, a construction loan closing by the end of 2025. Obviously, there's a lot of factors, but we need to get more senior housing built in East Harlem. So we're pushing.
I'll go ahead, Angel, please.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to commend the Ascendant and team on this presentation. It's I always like to speak up to, you know, to remind our members and our, you know, and our community that, you know, like there are ways to work with, you know, the development community to address the needs of our community. And this appears to be yet another example of how Ascendant is doing that together with the development team. You know, I was smiling as you guys are presenting, and Matthew is just checking off every single question in anticipation of what the standard community board questions are, up to and including the point that Vinny's typical, you know, list of questions was, you know, addressed even before he got to utter them. So we very much appreciate that. Just wanted to voice that to HPD, to Matt, and to Ascendant. And also just wanted to note, just because I can't help myself, the last time I saw Matthew, he was talking about local hiring. He was a lot less rock and roll. I like this look.
They call it hipster now.
Thanks, guys.
Any other questions from committee members? Any questions from members of the public?
Well done.
Oh, sorry, Joel Jones, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Not a question. I just put something in the chat, and as I was writing it, Vinny spoke. But I just said, is there in the future, will there be just more of a discussion, a mention of the individual for whom the project is named after, Carmen Villegas? And Vinny just made mention of that. But I was on the board when Carmen was on the board as well. So just wanted in your presentation, just some discussion about who she was in the community, what she meant to the community, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you.
Certainly, we can add that in there, and thank you both for that comment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Chris has has mentioned a lot of wonderful things about Carmen over the course of this, project, and we are really excited to honor her with naming it for her and after her. But also a great suggestion. We will definitely add some highlights about her in future presentations. So thank you.
You can add to that she's also a former community board member as well. She contributed a lot to East Harlem. I was also one of the recipients from the Carmen Villegas Award, so yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you so much for your presentation this evening and for all the detail work provided with us, and we'll keep in touch as the process goes forward.
Yeah, I'll follow up, and George will follow up with the zoning question, and Jason with the geothermal sites in New York. Thanks so much, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll also be at Housing Committee on January 7th, so just flagging that as well, and then we'll be in touch soon about ULERP. So thank you all, have a good evening.
Thank you so much. I'll do the front. Okay, that concludes our presentations and discussion section. Moving on to old business. We have our discussion of East Harlem landmarks, scenic landmarks, preservation opportunities, more specifically, Magic Garden. So if you'd like to either speak on behalf of the garden, or what would be the best way we can hear from you?
I think William wants to go first.
All right, so I was selected to make the presentation. Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to upload some of the witnesses to what we're saying. And so let me just jump right in. So we're here to petition the Community Board 11 and the Historical Society for scenic landmark. However, it turns out that we may also qualify for 3 other categories, such as wildlife, and the other one is free spaces. I believe that's what it was, right? Free spaces. So to the concern here about the scenic landmark, we have a letter from Gail Brewer. And I'm going to read the letter from Gail Brewer first, if I can find it. There it is. We think that these letters written by our community leaders are a testimony to what we're claiming. They word it so beautifully and so perfect that we couldn't make it any better than they've already done. Okay. So this one is from Gail Brewer, and it says, I write to support designating Maggie's Magic Garden at Lexington Avenue and 100th Street in East Harlem as a scenic landmark. The garden was in an abandoned lot that until Maria Magdalena Amurio took the initiative to clean it up and make it and turn it into a beautiful garden. Maggie has evolved. You'll have to forgive me because my eyes are not as good as they were once were. Maggie has involved many community members who work hard at the space and take pride in the beauty of the garden. When you are in the midst of the plants and the trees, in the interior of the garden, you cannot see the street. It is quiet and peaceful, though you might hear the birds. And that's a sign of wildlife that needs protection. Maggie has an event every year to recognize the volunteers, and they are appreciated. Then there isn't another garden like this one. I urge LPC to designate it a scenic landmark, and that's Gail Brewer. Then the next one is from City Parks, and it's by Chrissy Ward. Would you read it?
Of course. Maggie's Magic Garden is an East Harlem staple. For over 30 years, this community garden and green space has consistently kept its doors open to any person and or organization that wanted to support the community. With the ever-changing city demographic and topography, Maggie's Magic Garden has somehow managed to keep its bearings to offer the locals and beyond a small piece of nature and quiet. It has collaborated in the context of education and food justice, but also it is a place for artistic growth. Constructions in New York City can take years and years to finish, and shutting down this garden for any period of time or taking away any portion of what makes it what it is would be detrimental to the community. This is a letter of support to make sure that this space continues to be the oasis that it has been all these years. The collaboration between City Parks Foundation Learn and Maggie's Magic Garden has engaged 120 students over the past 2 years in the Learning Gardens program. We plan to continue to engage 120 more students from PS 77 and 198 at the community garden. CPF makes it accessible to public school, elementary, and middle school students throughout the fall, late winter, and spring to study environmental sciences with their talented environmental educators. The Learning Gardens program connects students who may live in poverty and have very little interaction to the outdoors to the natural world in a substantive and ongoing manner. CPF plays an important role in reinforcing science learning for children. This benefit in children's learning development is solidified by the partnerships with community gardens such as Maggie's Magic Garden. These partnerships are vital to the success of the program and the development of other partnerships, including schools, council members, and community members. On behalf of the community gardeners and the City Parks Learn team, I urge you to support the preservation of Maggie's Magic Garden. I believe the garden's impact on its community, education, and beautification is critical to its neighborhood and community's well-being.
And education is another category for which landmarks can be assigned. So we want to put that down as a testament to the fact that the garden also qualifies under that category. We believe that the next category, which has to do with free spaces, I don't have. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the wildlife letter here. I have it on my phone and I wasn't able to upload it.
Would you read it?
Yeah, let's see if I can. Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. We're in 100% support of your efforts, right? As we're the ones that have been advocating for you to get this status. So my question, since our last meeting in September, we set up some meetings for you with HDC. Has that happened?
No.
Okay. That was my primary focus for inviting you today with the Historic Council, which I'm assuming they couldn't make it.
They couldn't make it today.
Okay, so as I mean that importantly, like we're in, Parks came to us, told us about you, you came, Maggie came, shared your heartfelt story. We're committed in assisting you in that process. The bucket, the category, we're being held accountable to HDC, right? I find it interesting that Parks is involved, right? Because then my question to Parks, which I'll ask our chair over there, with that Parks agency, where are they in assisting in landmarking this space, right? Because landmarks and preservation, which is a part of this committee, we're gonna make that effort. right? That's why we called you back in. I really wanted the agency here. Right, so that the agency could tell you in front of us the next steps, and it's a learning process for us all. Because unfortunately, I'm part of the email chains, and I see the back and forth, and the true answer is no one knows the answer. Right, so we're going on this journey with you, and if there's anything that we could do to continue to support that effort, I designated Kenneth to deal with it specifically from a landmarks standpoint, but if there are other members that are familiar with, for lack of a better word, it seems to be easier to landmark a building as opposed to a parkland. You know, if you're interested, we should put this effort in together because it won't be far removed from some project or some effort that you may be directly involved or indirectly involved, which Maggie has brought to us. So my point there is politically, we're with you. My second question, which is the reason you came here. What has, since the incidents with the building next door with Children's Aid Society, have they been resolved or do they continue?
They continue.
Okay,
They
so
continue.
tomorrow, right, just text me, I'm gonna call the Department of Buildings Commissioner. And we're gonna ask the DOB to show up to the site and see what they're doing, because there's the fact that you have a parkland, and then there's the fact of them violating public space, right? The Department of Buildings
Correct.
only exists to safeguard the public from construction. If Children's Aid Society is violating that, I promise you, DOB will show up. If they see a rock in your site, they will shut the job down next door, right? So there's obviously some advocacy that's not happening on that end as well, and I'll notify Parks about that avenue. So those are the two parts that overall I've been concerned with is, you know, you maintaining, I'm not a park guy, so forgive me, right? My wife is the best green thumbs in the country. My point is, I love plants, I love the land, I love El Barrio, I love being Puerto Rican, I wanna keep all that. And we need to continue to assist you, but I do need to know if the authorities having jurisdiction aren't responding. Have you called 311? Have you called 911?
We had a meeting that was set up by Senator Serrano. And instead of getting what you're talking about, that kind of
Enforcement, because Serrano's a
we got-
politician.
we got a visit by the developers who insisted that, no, we didn't qualify.
It's okay. So just another rule of thumb, right? Just politics. Legislators, they're part of the executive branch. That's their job. Right, is to try to make people nice. Enforcement is going there to penalize. And that's why I'm saying you three, I've been doing construction for 20 years. And I know, because DOB is always my overshadow. You call DOB, that's all I worry about with the public sector. They have shut down my projects for noise complaints. Noise complaints, let alone if I drop something in someone's yard, that's a whole nother argument.
Yeah.
So I do want to focus on the HDC stuff, which I think is gonna be a lot larger conversation than this meeting. But I want to make sure that you
One
guys are
thing
being
about the
safeguarded.
One thing about the HGC is we did have some people from, I think HGC as well as Parks. That did civil. I don't think, is she from HGC, but I know that there are, she's from Historic Preservation Committee, HPC. Oh, okay, well, I guess like with the parks in particular, and I think the feedback that we got was that, in order to get like landmark status, even though according to landmarks, it only needs to be 30 years old, that it may be too young or it doesn't have a famous name attached, which to me is just entrenched in biases of what deserves preservation, especially as you look at El Barrio, and there's only 10 historic individual landmarks. And comparative to other parts of the city where you have more affluent and white residents, that's not even in comparison. And if you look at the landmarks themselves, a lot of the time, the stories and the names that are attached to them actually don't align with the Latino community. So I think to get that feedback from Parks, that was a tad discouraging, and I think really doesn't follow with what the Preservation Committee is saying, in which they're saying on one hand, it only has to be 30 years, have to have a cultural connection with the community. And also saying that there should be an increase of having these preservation sites in like communities of color, but then when we're getting actual feedback from Parks, it's very different.
So I want to speak to that briefly. I think, as you heard from our chair, part of our efforts are to get y'all in touch with HTC. So we are not subject matter expertise folks when it comes to landmark. But what we do want to do is have that conversation with HTC and with y'all. And we can see what are the steps, if it's even possible, right? And I'll add too, I did my own kind of first research. I can only find one community garden in the island of Manhattan that has been managed. Now, I'm not an expert, right? So I don't know what the detailed particular process would look like. But what we can do is put everyone in touch and be on the same conversation, on the same page. And even if we can't get landmark status, what we can do is make sure that, the park is a green thumb park. There are potentially additional resources we can provide to make sure that the space is preserved for generations to come. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation continuing. And I know Mr. Benko, we've been talking, so we'll continue to talk offline about how we can have that meeting.
Right, right. Okay.
Thank you guys for coming in and presenting your case, man. We applaud that.
Could you get us copies of those letters?
Yes, here you go.
Speedy service.
No, no problem.
We got a question here.
Angel, yes.
Has anyone, on this landmarks question, has anyone submitted a request for evaluation to LPC? You mentioned speaking with Parks, but has anyone submitted a request for evaluation directly to LPC?
No.
I
We
will,
have to admit that we were looking for guidance to do exactly that.
Here you go.
Oh.
Nobody leaves empty handed.
so you don't need, anyone, you could just do that yourself.
Okay.
Fill it in, submit it, and they will evaluate, you can follow up with them, as per the findings or the progress of their evaluation and their findings of evaluation, and then you'll have an answer directly from LPC, is this as suitable as a fit, instead of, any secondary sources you're hearing directly from the horse's mouth, like they're the ones that are gonna designate.
And to add to that, we've been creating a proposal.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
we're
just
not-
not in the submitting stage.
Okay.
We were also hoping to see if the board would submit a letter on your behalf as well to add to the.
So if I could suggest that as you're working on your proposal, when you have your proposal, hit us with your proposal, bring it to this table, and then they'll consider jumping onto your proposal.
Bring the completed proposal.
Sure.
Okay.
So because what they typically do is, like you heard the two presentations before, like those are their proposals, right? And then we'll hear it all, and then we'll say, we like it, we don't like it, we agree, we don't agree. So the same kind of model.
Okay, because we have a slideshow, the only thing we don't have on us is the essay, but I'm sure you
Is
would.
the what?
The essay.
That's it, okay.
I'm sure you wouldn't want to hear the essay.
Sure, why not? Just write it down.
Okay.
And yeah, we love paper.
Yeah.
PDFs are good too.
You have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you for coming here and presenting today. This is just random. I see that the letters from the Parks Foundation, which is the nonprofit partner of Parks Department. Have you been in conversation with the actual Parks Department?
Yes, they were invited to the meeting on Wednesday that Senator Shano set up, although we weren't aware that they were invited. So the senator proposed this meeting and it was gonna be between us, the senator, his assistants, and I think the Historic Preservation Committee chair, right?
Yeah.
And instead, we got just the senator's office members, I think the sub commissioner of historic preservation, and the developers also came, and a lot of parks representatives came.
Okay, I just want to know if the actual Parks Department was coming to support you.
Right.
Thank you.
And just some clarity in regards to the proposal, do we have to be on the other agenda in order to
Once
make a
you,
proposal?
so
We have a presentation proposal, that's what we created.
yeah, so I'm like, my point is specifically to the scenic landmark designation question. Once you have your proposal, whatever it looks like, then just please submit it and we'll get it on an agenda, because they can only vote when they're together and doing their, whatever it is they're doing. Meeting.
We don't even know.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay, yes, no problem.
Even if they have the presentation ready right now, it's gonna be presented, it has to be on the agenda for it to be voted, right?
Yeah, it would have to be in the next. But once it's completed and since it's seen it, then we can vote. But again, I do think what's important is if we continue to help connect folks as much as possible. I think that's one of the better you can be in service to getting this done. So thank you and thank you all for coming in.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Keep up the fight and don't let it go.
Support you along the way.
Okay, I'll move to the next item. Any new business? Okay, I don't give any new business. Shall we roll call?
Okay. Then Breon, Kenneth Crouch,
Present.
Jessica Elliott, Arnice Foster Hernandez, Pascal Hano, present. Jill Jones,
Present.
Jessica Morris, Nelson Rama,
Present.
complimenting me. Emily Pabon,
Present.
Derek Santon is gonna be absent. Vinnie Torres,
Presente.
Jalen Villanueva, and Candy Vivas Vasquez.
President.
We have quorum.
All right, hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, hey. I'm trying to remind you.